Success also is three parts. One is spiritual, and I'm not a pro on that, so I can't give you, I could give you my opinions on the spiritual side, but there are professionals who can deal with that uniquely. The spiritual side, humans are spiritual, physical, mental. So you got to work on the spiritual side, you know, whatever your beliefs or conclusions are in that direction. Humans are spiritual creatures, makes us different from animals. So spend some time on that part. But here's the two other parts. One is physical. You got to take care of yourself physically. There's a Bible phrase that says, consider your body, okay, the house you live in, your body, consider it like a temple. Okay, consider your body like a temple, which means something you'd take extremely good care of. A temple sort of denotes something you take extremely good care of. Not a woodshed, a temple. Temple. Now, on the physical side, remember this, the body and the mind work together. Sometimes the mind, you know, has got it figured out, but the body can't respond. So you got to work on the physical side. Now, some people are a little more sport conscious and physical conscious, so they don't have that much problem. But if you don't happen to be, get you some books on, you know, how to stay in shape 30 minutes a day. Get books on nutrition. Take care of the physical side. And part of it is also for contact, for identification. In interchange with other people, physical has a great, you know, important part to play. There's a Bible phrase that says, people look on the outside, God looks on the inside. So you got to take care of both the inside and the outside. You take care of the inside for God, take care of the outside for people. Because people are going to judge a great deal by what they see. Now, knowledgeable people don't judge all by what they see, but we all do a certain amount of judging by what we see in the way of style and dress and manners and courtesy and physical well-being. We all judge a certain amount by that. So you got to take care of the physical, and also so that you'll be able to perform all that your mind wants to do. So just a few simple things on exercise and nutrition. I do my best. When you travel, it's a little difficult, really, to stay on a uniquely nutritious diet. But it's not what you do once in a while that gives you the great problems. It's what you do most of the time. If you do it wrong, you can get into some trouble. But just little things. When I stay in the hotel, if I'm not up on the 40th floor, I take the stairs instead of the elevator. You know, you just little things. At the airport, instead of riding the escalator, just jump up the stairs, okay? Do a little jogging in the morning, whatever, a few laps around the swimming pool. Keep yourself in good shape, because the body has to take you where you want to go and help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. Now, here's one other thing I've learned. Learn to be conscious of self, but not self-conscious. There's just a little twist here of being conscious of your own physical well-being and your appearance and how you look and how you feel, your health, but don't be self-conscious. You know, some people spend all day building their muscles, right? The great bodybuilders and so on, you know, which is okay if that's what you're into, but it means enough to take care of it so you can just forget it. Appearance, enough to take care of it so that you can just go about your business. You know, some people are just self-conscious all day long about how they look, and their appearance just bugs them all day. So work it out so that you can take care of it physically and then not let it hinder you. Just take care of it so that it's done, grooming and your physical appearance, okay? Be conscious of yourself, but not self-conscious. Now, the other part, of course, is the mind. Make sure you work on the mind, develop your mind, keep learning, keep stretching, tackle the difficult books. Don't just read the easy stuff. You can't have a healthy mind just living on mental candy. Okay? You must read the classics as well as the comics. And don't be afraid to tackle things that you don't quite understand. Just dig right into it. Say, well, this book just doesn't make that much sense. Hey, just wade in it a little further and see if there might be some things that'll stretch your thinking. And also in the mental exercise, don't be afraid of the other side of the argument. Read somebody that's got an opposite view of yours. Read a little bit about it so that you know their side of the argument. That'll help you even with your side if you know the other side. Learn to appreciate somebody else's point of view and their argument and their points that they make. Right? You got to appreciate a good debater. Even if you don't agree with them, you got to appreciate if they got a good point. I heard one of the extreme liberals up in Canada had a good point. One of the guys is talking about free enterprise, rugged individualism. People ought to grow and learn for themselves, you know, and have the challenge for themselves. Not be just part of the group. If they're weak, they ought to try to be strong. And the other guy, this extreme liberal, was saying, well, that's well and good, that side of the argument. But it's like, and he used this expression, every man for himself, said the elephant as he danced among the chickens. I thought, pretty good, pretty good. Got to put one down on his side, right? You just learn to appreciate the other side of the argument, right? Some people have got some, pretty good stuff to consider. Okay, both liberal and conservative. And we got both documents in our history, okay? The Declaration of Independence was the great liberal document, and the Constitution of the United States was the great conservative document. So I guess we need a little of both, liberal and conservative. It's like driving a car, right? The liberals say, just step on the gas. Say, well, hold it now. You got to have some brakes too, right? You got to have both the brake and the gas pedal. And you got to steer, or you will wind up in the ditch. So it doesn't hurt to appreciate, the other side of the argument and tackle the things that seem to be a little tough to get through. Stretch your mind, stretch your thinking. Some people say, well, the Bible is a little too complicated for me. I just never read it. See, you've missed out then on one of the, the classics of literature of all time, 66 unique books, well put together. You just can't miss it just because it seems to be a bit complicated when you first go through it. Just keep going through it. Shakespeare at times just sounds a little abstract, but if you'll just dig into it, just go through it. And don't let yourself so easily off the hook. Say, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to find out what this means. And don't just pass over the words you don't understand. Make a list of them. Go to the dictionary. Find out what they mean. Add some more words to your vocabulary. Okay? Keep testing how much you know, and then see how much further you can go, how much further you can go. So don't let yourself off the hook so easy. Push yourself with mental exercise. Okay. Now, let me give you 4 simple steps to success. In your personal development process, here's some good things to learn. If you wish to succeed, really you need 4 things. First, you need a good idea. Be the recognizer of a good idea. And there's all kinds of ideas of enterprise and products and services. If you want to do well, you got to pick up something that's good. Find a human need. Find the answer. Take the answer in quality and quantity of service to as many people as you can reach in your lifetime. Success is a fairly simple formula, but you got to have a good idea, something you believe in, and maybe you've already got one. Don't always be looking around somewhere else till you've explored where you are. A good book to read is called Acres of Diamonds. Acres of Diamonds. Unique little story about the man that went off seeking his fortune, sold his property, and on the property they found the fortune in diamonds. So make sure you haven't walked off and left your fortune. Always looking, never exploring what you already have. But be the student of a good idea. Here's the next step you need to succeed. You need a good plan for procedure. And a plan here includes many things, the product plan and the implementation plan and the sales plan and your work plan. There's all kinds of plans to put together. Before the day's over, we're going to talk about game plans. Make sure it's a simple plan. If you've got other people working with you, make sure everybody can understand it. Uncomplicated. Keep it simple. Mr. Schoaf had this unique approach to life. Simplicity. He only went to the 8th grade in school. So he approached everything very simply. Now, he was really a reader, and he was a well-educated man, but he was self-educated. But he always approached it. He said, go the simple approach. He said to me, there's about a half dozen things that'll make 80% of the difference in your life. Half dozen. Just find out what those half dozen things are. Proceed on those. Okay? Just boil it down to the simple parts. Good nutrition, about a half dozen adjustments in your nutritional program, and you solve about 80% of the problems. Right? Now, you may have a certain specialized problem that needs a specialized answer. But don't always go looking for the specialized answer until you've done all the basics, the fundamentals. Let the obvious be your best teacher. Take care of those, and that might solve so much of your problem or give you such an edge on success that you don't need to go searching for some, weird stuff. Now, some people have specialized problems and need specialized help. I understand that. But don't go off for that till you've done the 7 things, the 6 things. Then if the 6 things that are basic doesn't get the job done, then go looking and searching for something that may be a little more specialized. Okay? But keep it simple. That was Schoaf's clue for me. Somebody asked me one time what I thought of transactional analysis. I said, sounds good, right? Everybody ought to make an analysis of their transactions. And if they're not good, change them. Hey, go for the simple approach. And I know that some human emotions and problems are a bit more complicated and need a bit more specialized help. But make sure when you go for specialized help, you get a specialist. I'm a bit suspect of some of the programs that put a general audience through specific things. Sometimes it can be a bit dangerous. But take the simple approach. Make sure it's simple. Make sure you can understand it. Other people can understand it. We learn to do that in the sales process, right? Guy says, well, I'm not doing too well. Maybe you can help me. I say, sure I can. How many people did you talk to yesterday? Guy says, well, yesterday I had these other things going on and I really didn't get to it. I said, then we've identified the problem already, right? And we've only been talking 10 seconds. All right, we got right to it. I mean, it's just fairly uncomplicated. Simple. Now, here's number 3. The third step to success is the passing of time. Learning how to handle time is one of the big challenges in the road to success. Impatience, see, probably will ace you out of the future about as quick as anything else. Impatience. Not being able to last from spring till fall. And I know sometimes it's difficult, especially if you've borrowed the money and the creditors are on the line and the phone is ringing. Did you ever notice the difference in the ring of the phone when you're doing well and when you're not doing well? I mean, it rings different, right? I remember those times in my life when the phone rang, right? I go like this, right? I mean, it jars all of the fine ends of my nerves, right? It's because most of those calls back there during some of that period, right, were not the calls I wanted. But how to handle that downtime, the struggling time, the summer time, when bugs you haven't even identified are working on your crop and things you hadn't even been told of are eating away at your garden. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there, and you just got to learn to handle the passing of time and get your way through it. And don't be so impatient. You know, some people plant a little, and a few days later they're digging around saying, where's my crop? Where's my crop? Hey, you got to hang in here. Hang in here. Learn to stay. A lot of things you got to give time to. Give your project time. It takes time to put together a corporate work of art. It takes time to paint a masterpiece. It takes time to put together a symphony. It takes time for the project. The national project has taken some time. We've been at the Republic for 200 years. Maybe we'll need another couple of hundred for it to have its unique influence on the world. It takes time. Next is give people time. It takes people time to change and grow and catch on and learn and make the changes, develop the progress. Give your people time. And here's the major one. Give yourself time. Boy, it's easy to cut yourself off too soon. Say, well, I don't think I'll be able to learn it. I don't think I'll be able to do it. And you've only been at it for a day or 2 or 3 or a week or so. Give yourself time to change and grow and become a better person. Develop a unique understanding, awareness. Give yourself time to let things register. We all need a certain amount of mental time so things can soak. Figure it out and let it fall into place. Give yourself time to grow. No telling how unique you can become if you give yourself time. Now, one of the greatest times to handle and to utilize is time alone. Someone asked me not long ago, said, what are you seeking currently? And I said 2 things, solitude and tranquility. And when you get very busy traveling around the world and your life is fairly hectic in schedules and seminars and meetings and people, and I'm lecturing currently to, I guess, 5,000-6,000 people a month. And you do look for those times when you can get away. That's why I've got my motorhome. I got a motorhome, put a Kawasaki on the back and head for the mountains and ride the Jeep trails and go out and visit with the chipmunks. And, you know, just get away where there's nothing but sky and trees, breezes, birds. Get out there and let tranquility just soak in your soul for a few hours or a couple of days or whatever time you've got to get away. And take the time. You've also got to spend some alone time. There are some things you just have to decide all by yourself. You can get feedback, you can get awareness, you can get understanding, you can get a lot of things, even from family, close friends, close friends. I've got some very close friends, close family. My 2 daughters, I'm very close to them. We're close family, but there are some things you just got to solve by yourself. And you've got to learn to handle the time alone. I wrote a little thing one time, how to go from average to fortune. And I had 5 points. First was get serious. To do well, you got to be serious. You don't have to be grim, but you must be serious. Next, I said, get smart. You got to know more this year than you did last. You got to catch up. A guy said to me one time, he said, well, I know you're always talking about reading books, library, read the books. But he said, I just can't get excited about reading. I said, sir, you do not read because you are excited. You read because you must. How far behind do you want to fall? That was a direct attack, in case you didn't recognize it there. You gotta get smart. You gotta keep up. Knowledge is flowing at an incredible rate these days, so you just gotta know more about your business and about life and human behavior and what's going on. So get smart. Third is get excited about your ability to discipline yourself to do anything. Guess what you could do starting Monday to change your whole life? Anything. Everything. It's not a question of what you can do. It's just a question of what you will do. Guy says, well, I got to get up and go to work on Monday morning. See, that's not true. That's probably what you will do. But that's not what you could do. You could write a whole new chapter starting Monday and tear up the old one, if you wish. It's choice time, right? Whatever you wish. But what's exciting is to know that on any given day, you can change your whole life. On any given day. Whenever you wish. Now, see, that's exciting. Once you understand the awesome potential of that, it's hard to even sleep nights. You'll get excited. Shof got me excited back in those early days. I'm 25 years old. He got me excited about becoming wealthy, financially independent. He got me excited about the person I was going to become, learning to better handle the language, affect other people, develop my personality, all those unique things I was going to become. He got me excited. He said, all you got to do is practice, work on it, unbelievable. Got me excited about my skills. He said, it doesn't take long to learn. He got me excited about borrowing my first money to go into business. He said, you have to get started in a little business. I said, well, I don't have any money. He said, well, that's not the problem. Now, see, up until then, I always thought it was, right? But sure enough, it wasn't the problem. He said, no, you can get the money. He said, I'll coach you how to get the money. I said, wow. He said, who's your banker? I said, Jimmy Jingles, down at C&P Bank. He said, well, Jingles will give you the money. I said, look, I owe him more money now than I can pay. He said, well, that doesn't matter. Now, see, up until then, I always thought it mattered. I didn't know. No wonder I wasn't excited, right? I hadn't uncovered all this unique stuff. He said, no. He said, I'll bet you. He said, Jingles will loan you the money you need to get started in business. I said, why? How would he do that? I can't pay him now what I owe him. He said, no, you don't understand. He said, let me coach you. He coached me to go down and put the story on Jingles. He said, it'll only take about 20, 30 minutes. And he said, you've got something right. You think now is going to change your life, make your fortune, go for it? I said, no doubt about that. He said, all you got to do is put that story on Jingles. He'll go for it. I thought, wow. See, I didn't know that I was that good or that I could get that good. He said, no, just tell the story sincerely. Tell it like it is. Tell the total truth. And tell him what you're going to do with it. Tell him how you're going to make the changes and that he can help you get the money. And then wind up by saying this, Mr. Jingles, if you'll see to it that I get the money, not only will I do well, I will tell everybody I meet, you're the man that helped me. Now, see, I'd never done stuff like that before. So Shof coached me. I make it down to the bank and walk in. There's Mr. Jingles. I said, Mr. Jingles, how are you? He said, Mr. Rohn, nice to see you. He said, come on in, let's chat a while. I said, yeah, I want to talk to you. So I walked in, we sat down. He said, how's it going? I said, pretty good. He said, I hope you haven't come to borrow any money. Now, Shof had left that one out, and that one threw me right away. But I swallowed hard and said, Mr. Jingles, look, I've got a story to tell you you won't believe. He said, well, what is it? And I proceeded to unload on him in the next 20 minutes what Mr. Shof had coached me. With all the sincerity, I told him I had something that I knew was going to make me wealthy and that I was changing my life quickly. I said, I've already started the process and all I need is a little money and I will soon be wealthy. And I wound up by saying, Mr. Jingles, not only will I do well, I will tell everybody you're the man that helped me get started. And I leaned back and let that grab him. Because Shof said to me, Mr. Jingles will be so impressed, Mr. Rohn, with your presentation that if the bank won't loan you the money, he will personally. Now, see, that was a bit hard for me to understand, but guess what happened when I finished my story with Mr. Jingles and told him that my whole life was now changing and I was going from average to rich. Mr. Jingles, when I finished, said, Mr. Rohn, I'll tell you what. He said, I've heard a lot of stories, people sitting in this chair, but he said, you got me. He said, I'll tell you what. I'm not sure the bank will loan you the money, but if they won't, I will. I couldn't believe it. So I got the money, $250. Now that was a lot of money back then, right? $250. But guess what after that? See, after that, I learned a very dear lesson there that with my skills, if I just practiced and got better with my skills, no telling what I could do. No telling what in the future I could borrow. No telling who'd buy my story. And I got so excited that if I wanted to, I could get good at anything and change my life, change my future. So get excited. That'll change your life. Fourth is get going. If you want your life to change, you want to be successful, you got to get going. Some people are always learning, but they don't get going. It's like the guy that keeps bringing materials to the building site and never builds anything. He just keeps stacking up the bricks and the plumbing supplies and the roofing supplies, just stacks them all around. Somebody says, you must be really going to build something here. He says, wait till you see the rest of the stuff I got to bring. And he just goes back and he brings some more, brings some more, brings some more. See, pretty soon they'll come take you away. Okay, you got to do something with what you're gathering up, what you're learning. You probably already know enough now to become wealthy. You just got to use it. You got to get going. Now, the fifth one, and I went through all that to get to this one. Fifth key to success is get away. You got to get away. You got to take time to be alone, to reflect, to ponder, to weigh, to analyze, to think, to fill up. You got to take the time, rejuvenate. That kind of time. It's important. Okay, that's the third step to the success life, is handling time. Fourth step to success, one of the most important, the solving of problems. And everybody's got a list of problems. Everybody. The rich merely ask for a longer list. But solving problems is a real challenge, and there's all kinds of problems. Business problems, family problems, personal problems, financial problems, mental problems, emotional problems. We've all got these challenges, but that's the game of life, how to take it like it is and make it like you want it. How to turn resources into productivity. Human resources, physical resources, solving problems. That's the challenge of life and lifestyle. See, the challenge is how to be happy with what you got. You got something. The next key is how can you be happy with it? It's a challenge. It's a problem. It needs to be solved. I met Neil Armstrong one time. First man to step his foot on the moon. Neat guy. I met him in Chicago. Neil Armstrong said, going to the moon was simply a matter of solving problems. That's the way he described it. The trip to the moon was just solving problems. So no telling where you can go if you solve the problems. No telling what kind of a journey you can take. Just solve the problems. Now, let me give you some keys on problem solving that really helped to alter my life. Problem solving. First, work out your problems on paper, not just conversation and thinking. Put the problem on paper. You'll find if you're around us quite a bit, the evening seminar, these 2 days, any other context you might have with us, we're always talking about paper, journals, projects, books, learning to think on paper. And problem solving is the same thing. To solve a problem, simple. First, divide a piece of paper in half. On this side of the paper, state the problem. Just write it out. Now, you don't have to live on it or live in it. You don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to stay on it, but you do have to state it. To make an intelligent decision, you need the accurate facts. You got to know what the problem is. So that's the first step. Just write it out in some very simple language. Here is the problem. I've got this and this and this. Okay? Just make a statement of the problem. Now, on this side, work out the answers. Okay? On paper, in your thinking process. Now, to solve a problem, let me give you 3 questions to ask to solve any problem. 3 questions to ask to solve any problem. Now, this is a process to go through. And you want to go through a process because here's what you want. Not just the solution to a problem. You want to become a problem solver. If you solve a problem, that's temporary. If you become a problem solver, that's permanent. It's like the old line of what's better, to have a fish or to learn how to fish? It's much better to learn how to fish than it is to just be handed a fish. The same is true in sales. We teach in sales. Making a sale is temporary. Becoming a salesperson is permanent. Right? People who are just going for the next sale, live what's known as the temporary sales life. And they're always scrambling, simply because they don't become a salesperson, a persuader, by working hard on themselves. Okay? So what you want to become is a problem solver. And you do that by going through this process. First question is, what could I do? Okay, the first question to solve the problem is, what could I do to solve the problem? Now, don't go beyond step 1 till you've thoroughly covered it. Then just make a list of some of the potential answers. Here's the first one, here's the second one, here's the third one. I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. Just start toying with some of the answers on the paper. Then, once you've got these put together, which is the best one? You say, well, this one would take too long. I need an answer a little quicker. I need to do it sooner. This one seems a little weak. This first one I thought of, that's probably the answer right there. Just work with it on paper, not in your mind. The best way to organize your thoughts is to write them down. It's a little difficult to just organize them in your mind. Organize answers in your mind. Come up with potential possibilities, options. You just got to write out your options on paper, my opinion. Now then, here's the second question to ask. Second question to solve a problem is, what could I read? It could very well be a book on the problem. Or if I went back through my journals, what could I read that might find an answer? Maybe you've got a problem that's got a section in the library. You just go to that section, start going through the books. Somebody else might have put a whole lifetime into trying to solve that particular problem, and they've written a whole book on it, or there's several books on it. So that's a major question. What could I read? Okay, number 2. Here's the third question to solve a problem. Who could I ask? Now, don't go to number 3 till you've passed number 1 and number 2. And if you've passed number 1 and number 2 to the best of your ability, and you've done your best to work it out, and you still don't have the answer, and time is critical, and you've got to get closer to the solution, then go to number 3 and ask. But let me tell you what knowledgeable people are always willing to do. Answer questions if they get the sense you've done your best to figure it out beforehand. You can't believe the sense you get from people. If you say, I've done this, I've been through this, and I've read this, and I've done all this, and I still can't come up with the answer, could you help me? Almost anybody unique would say, of course. Right? What is the question? Let me see if I can help you with it. If you've gone through this process, we all respond, first of all, to somebody else's effort. They just didn't come to us for some cheap, quick answer. As kids, we learn to do that, right? First, we proceed our request with what all we've already done. It's called the setup. My 2 daughters are unique. One of them is Linda. Linda loves to travel around the world. She's the world traveler. She's 23 years old. She's been just, all kinds of places. We have this contest, see who can get where first around the world. Linda calls up, says, I beat you to Egypt. Okay. And she did. So I go to South Africa. I call her up and say, I beat you to South Africa. Okay. So we're always got this contest going. Anyway, Linda has got this unique strategy. She works hard putting money together, saving and plotting and scheming and working right, putting money aside, and she doesn't do this and doesn't do this right to get the money together to make one of these trips. One of them was to Thailand. She was going to go to Thailand for 2.5 months with a girlfriend of hers. Her girlfriend's family lived there. They were going to go spend a couple of months there. So Linda comes to me and she says, Dad, look, Susie and I are going to go to Thailand. I says, oh, wonderful. And she says, I've put this much money together. I've worked hard. I've saved. I've made all these arrangements. And she said, I've put aside $1,000. I say, well, congratulations. She said, I only need 2,000 more. That's right. But see, she worked on me so good for that first 1,000, right? And really she did. She worked hard. She put that first $1,000 together. But see, she knows I'll go for the 2 if she can give me a good story on the 1, okay? Now, see, we're all inclined to do that, right? When somebody says, I've done this and I've done this and I still need some help and I think you can do it, we're ready to go for it. So ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Go for the answers. But don't bypass this just for the quick answer, because that won't give you the muscle. It won't give you the personal development. It won't give you the strength and the know-how to become a problem solver if you skip these 2 steps. So those are the 3 steps to solving problems. And once you become a problem solver, no telling what you can do with your business and your life and your social contact. No telling what you can do with what you've got for the rest of your life's journey. Solving problems, handling time, developing a good plan, and coming up with a good idea, and your chances are excellent for becoming successful. When I was in South Africa, I picked up this little saying by Arnold Bennett on time, and you won't have time to write it all down, but just let me read it for you, and it'll be on the set of cassettes that you're getting for the weekend. And it says, by Arnold Bennett, time is the inexplicable raw material of everything. With it, all is possible. Without it, nothing. The supply of time is truly a daily miracle, an affair genuinely astonishing when one examines it. You wake up in the morning and lo, your purse is magically filled with 24 hours of the unmanufactured tissue of the universe of your life. It is yours. It is the most precious of possessions. No one can take it from you. It is unstealable, and no one receives either more or less than you receive. In the realm of time, there is no aristocracy of wealth and no aristocracy of intellect. Genius is never rewarded by even an extra hour a day, and there is no punishment Waste your infinitely previous commodity as much as you will, and the supply will never be withheld from you. Moreover, you cannot draw on the future. Impossible to get into debt. You can only waste the passing moment. You cannot waste tomorrow. It is kept for you. You cannot waste the next hour. It is kept for you. I have said the affair was a genuine miracle. Is it not? You have to live on this 24 hours of daily time. Out of it, you have to spend health, pleasure, money, content, respect, and the evolution of your immortal soul. Its right use, its most effective use, is a matter of the highest urgency and of the most thrilling actuality. All depends on that. Your happiness, the elusive prize that you are all clutching for, my friends, depends on that. If one cannot arrange that an income of 24 hours shall exactly cover all proper items of expenditure, one does muddle one's whole life indefinitely. We shall never have any more time. We have, and we have always had, all the time there is. Arnold Bennett. Well said. Okay, time management. We're going to cover a whole lot of material here. Daniel's going to finish up with game plans, but let me give you just a few tips on time management essentials. First of all, you run the day or it runs you. A little simple analysis. It's not that difficult to get something started, and you run it for a while, and after a while it starts running you. That's part of the challenge. I told my staff one day, giving birth to a tiger is one thing, learning how to ride it is something else, right? Sometimes you start it and then it turns around and starts giving you all kinds of trouble. Next, the time you've already committed to labor is enough time. If you're working already 8-10 hours a day, that's about it. You just can't work much more than that. Bursts at a time, you can work 12, 14, 16, right? I'm sure we've all learned to do that, put in the extra time. But after a while, you pretty well have to put your life in balance, or your health is in jeopardy and your heart's in jeopardy. Your blood pressure is in jeopardy. A lot of things, if you don't stay in balance. So you don't have to put in any more hours, probably. All you have to do is just make better use of the hours. A cliche we've all heard. It's not the hours you put in, it's what you put in the hours that counts. Now also, you need a written set of goals, time management essential. And if you don't have that list, we'll come up with that tomorrow. Priorities, and a constant review of your goals, because that's how you determine how to use your time, whatever priorities you're going for. Then you need a plan to achieve your goals. Another key is learning to separate majors from minors. That's high on the list. Making sure you don't spend major time on minor things. This is why you need to think on paper, put your game plan on paper to make sure you're not spending major time on minor things. Little phrase I have says, don't mistake movement for achievement. It's not that difficult to get busy. What you have to do is check to see what you're busy on, because it's easy to haul out the trash and fix the screen door, get the car washed, take the kids to school. I mean, it's easy to stay busy, right? The key is on what? Next time management essential is concentration, zeroing in. Preoccupation is fatal, both on the freeway and in business. You got to keep your mind concentrated. I have a little rule that says, don't start the business day till you get to the office. I used to start my business day in the shower or at the breakfast table, and it just messed up a lot of things. I'm sitting at the breakfast table, guess where my mind is? At the office. I even got mixed up going to the beach and, trying to, do some relaxing time. But sure enough, when I'm in the office, I'm thinking about the beach. And when I'm on the beach, I'm saying I should be at the office. Now, see, that's mixed up. We quoted that little quote from the Reader's Digest in the evening seminar, right? Wherever you are, be there. If you're at the breakfast table, be there. When you're having a conversation with somebody, be there. When you're on your way to work, be there. Enjoy the ride. Take a look around you. What's going on? Study human nature. What's happening? Be there. And then when you get to the office, go for it. Next time management essential is learn to say no. Boy, it's easy to overload your calendar, get yourself into all kinds of time management problems simply because you didn't have the strength to say no when you should have said no. It's much more difficult to say no and then try to get out of it later, call back, make the arrangements, go through the whole embarrassment. Better to say no than to say yes and have to back out. Ron Reynolds has a good phrase that says, don't let your mouth overload your back. That's good. The next time management essential is when you work, work, when you play, play. That one I learned the hard way. See, if you're going to put in a day, just put in the whole day. And if you're going to take some time off, take it all off. Right? Take the whole day off. If you're going to work a day, work a good, long, hard day. If you're going to play all day. Either work all day or play all day. Because guess what? If you're going to knock off at 3 and go play, guess what you're thinking about all morning, right? Knocking off at 3 o'clock. I mean, it just, it's one of those things. It's hard to zero in, on something and make it productive if you're making plans to do something else. Now, part of this depends on what you do and depends on your work schedule and the job you have and the business you have, right? I understand that. Everything we're talking about these 2 days needs to be altered and monitored and worked around to fit your particular situation. I understand that. I have a builder friend of mine up in San Jose. His name is Peter Paulson. Peter's got it down pat. Peter works a week and takes off a week. That's the way he's got it arranged. He's a builder. Now, it's kind of clever, though. See, he works 5 days, takes off 9. That's a little, he says work a week, take off a week, yeah, but it's really 5 and 9. Because it's 5 and then it's a weekend and 5 days and another weekend, right? So, but what Peter does, the 5 days he puts in, he works, 14, 16 hours, almost around the clock, keeps 2 or 3 secretaries going, gives all the orders, the accountants, the superintendents, the builders, the whole thing, gets it all arranged, and works around the clock for 5 days and then goes, takes off. Now, you might not have the luxury of being able to do it that way, but just work on this. When you work, when you play. Okay, the next time management essential is analyze how you are, and then either compensate for it or change. Sometimes you can remain how you are if you just make other arrangements. My staff discovered I'm a poor courier. They said, Mr. Rohn, here's a check for Jerry Haynes. You're going to be up north, right, in the next couple of days? I say, yeah, no problem. Give it to me. I'll see that he gets it. Guess when I next hear about that check? From my cleaners. Saying, Mr. Rohn, we found this, right? Now, I say, look, I know I messed up that time, but, next time I'll make sure. See, but it just doesn't work. I'm not good at it. So we've got a little rule at our office that says, don't give the chairman anything, right? Don't. It won't arrive. He can talk good, but he's a poor courier. It won't get there. So you just got to analyze how you are and then make the compensations for it. Now, you can promise to change all you want, right? But if you're not going to, then make the other arrangements. I finally got somebody to help take care of reading financial statements and taking care of, a lot of corporate business and matters that I promised I would do myself, but I just never did get it done. And it used to be terribly costly to me for IRS and taxes. Unbelievable. But I finally got somebody to take care of that. At first it was Miss Mary. Ron Reynolds now handles a lot of it, but Mary Nasarowich, back in those other years, she did it for me. I found her. She's a legal secretary and had a real estate license, and she was just terribly bright. Has my power of attorney, bought and sold property, did a lot of these things, argues with attorneys and sits down with the accountants and goes through stuff with the IRS. And she just got good at it. And she took care of a lot of things that bailed me out more than once. IRS says I owe them an extra $105,000 one year. I said, $105,000? They said, yes, all these bank accounts and things we can't reconcile. Sure enough, back in the old days, I'd have paid the $105. This time I say, Mary. So Mary puts all this stuff together. I think she made one trip to Texas, one trip to Florida, gathered up all this information, and she had done such a good job that now it's time to go to San Francisco, meet the IRS with the accountants and the attorneys and, one of those sessions. And Miss Mary had done such a good job that when she finished after about a 3-hour presentation, IRS said, Mr. Rohn, fortunate for you, we will strike the 105. Wow, Miss Mary gets a bonus, right? Wow. Incredible. So if you're not going to change, if you're not going to do it, even though you promise yourself year after year, just then make arrangements to see that it gets done. So analyze how you are. If you're good at bookkeeping, then keep your books. If you're not, just don't keep promising. Just drop off all that mess, twice a week or once a month in somebody's lap and say, here, figure this out and I'll pay you to do it. Sometimes for $100 a month or something, $50 a month. Somebody will just, calculate a lot of stuff for you. Just save yourself all the grief of promising and never doing it. So analyze how you are. That's very important. Next time management essential is beware of the telephone. Beware of the telephone, a useful tool, but it can also get you into trouble. We got a little careless one time for a period of time. The telephone bill got up to $12,000 a month. In California, that wasn't international, that was here. Unbelievable. So you got to watch the telephone, and also you got to watch the telephone on time management. Here's one way to use the telephone. Make sure you make an agenda before you make a call. Make a little list of what you're going to talk about before you call. Don't try to think and call out of your head. We've learned to do this international. When you're in South Africa talking to Italy, you got to have an agenda. Otherwise, the phone bill goes crazy. And when you talk to any of our guys right around the world, you can just hear them kind of going through this list. Tick, 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 tick. You know, how are you and how are the kids and how are you doing, right? A few little pleasantries. Here's what I want to talk to you about. Tick, 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 right down through it. Wind up saying, hey, hope to see you very soon. Boom. But if you don't have this agenda, you wander around, talk about all kinds of things that probably aren't essential. And then you have that at the end of the telephone conversation. You say, let's see, there was something else I was going to talk to you about. I can't think of it right now. If I think of it, I'll call you back. See, you just great time waster. Also, when you make an agenda, it's really great when you come back to recall the conversation. Remember we talked about doing these 3 things? You say, no, we didn't go over that. Say, well, let me see. Oh, yeah. There it is in my log, the agenda of the telephone conversation. Okay? So use the telephone. Now, you got to be aware of the telephone at home, too. Now, you might have to have some business calls at home, but you got to be very careful. The phone can be an incredibly disturbing influence on family and social, personal life. So learn to regulate that. They got the phones now, you can just shut them off, right? When somebody calls, it just sounds like you're not there. You know, the phone just rings, but you don't hear it. I can just let the phone ring, but some people can't do that, right? I've had people over at my house, my phone rings. They say, aren't you going to answer your phone? I say, no, we're having lunch or whatever, right? So you got to answer your phone. I said, no, you don't. I've had them go answer my phones. They say, it's for you. I said, I imagine it is, yeah. Come on. I also found out when you got teenagers, they got to have a phone because the teenagers can't use the adult's phone. Otherwise, you become a message courier and they stay on the phone. And when you got 2 daughters like I had, they've each got to have a phone. 2 teenage daughters cannot use the same phone. For just a few dollars, sometimes you just save yourself a lot of hassle and a lot of trouble. And then finally, we got the girls in answering service. Yeah. Otherwise, the parents become the answering service for the teenagers. You know, so do it not only for the convenience, but also for the prestige, right? The girls say, call my service. And I mean, like, really, it's neat. Just a few dollars a month and you solve a lot of problems, have a lot of fun. It's part of lifestyle, right? How to spend your money. So put the telephone thing together. Next, time management essential is have a certain time to solve problems. We found that helpful, especially in the business world. We say problems after 3. Just set them aside. Now, you don't ignore them, but you just set them aside in a certain time frame. All the problem calls, you just call back after 3 o'clock and just go right through them. Now, also, in setting them aside till 3 o'clock, problem comes in at 9 o'clock. And you say, hey, 3 o'clock, Mr. Rohn's going to get on the phone and make all these problem calls, right? Call back all these answers. Guess what usually happens between 9 and 3? Somebody calls back and says, hey, tell him not to call. We've already got it worked out. But see, if you take that call when it comes, sure enough, now you got to spend time. We learn in sales training. People ask questions. You say, hey, save that till training class. Bring that question to training class. You just learn those time-saving things so you don't have to cover the same things with each person. Okay. Next on time management is read all the books. Just get you some ideas on time management from the books. There's books by Bliss, McKay, Lakin. Because that's where you get the answers. Because everybody's got tailor-made situations that need different answers. So just read them all. You know, some's got some kind of weird stuff. Right? If you're weird, do the weird stuff, right? Whatever. Read it all. Next time management essential is be more alert. Part of the alertness is not only what's going on, but also be alert to looking at all your present procedures. You may have some old outdated procedures, stuff you've been doing for 5 years, and it's taken 10 hours instead of 1. Right? You could put it on a computer or something. You could just, go through because it's easy to just accumulate a lot of wasted time, wasted motion by not, updating all of your stuff. You don't have to use the old, you don't have to use that anymore, right? The old calculators. They got the neat, easy stuff, right? Just go through and make sure you're not bogged down with some old, antiquated stuff that's wasting a lot of time. And then be more alert. Take a look at what's going around you. Say, hey, I've been going from here to there and it's taking too much time. In sales management, we teach, don't go across town until you've gone across the street. Have they heard your story across the street? Guys, I got this hot prospect 40 miles away. Well, it just probably isn't worth the time. It's too far. The span of distance is too long. Just shorten up the span. So be alert as to those kind of time wasters. The last one here is ask questions. When you get ready to talk to somebody, ask some questions. It might save you a great deal of time. Because it's easy to talk to somebody for an hour and then discover you've been on the wrong subject. Right? Or maybe you're talking to the wrong person. Say, who are you? Oh, yeah, John, I forgot. You're talking about somebody else's problem. No, Ask questions, then you can get right to the heart of the matter. And then after you've asked a couple of questions, ask a couple of more. Because you can ask somebody, hey, what's wrong? It's not going well, what's wrong? Guy says, well, I can't seem to get at it. And then you just go on, here's how you ought to get at it, and so on, when that's not really the problem. Most people at first don't disclose the real problem. Make sure you learn that in management. Most people at first don't disclose the real problem. They disclose the surface problem. Sometimes the real problem is the problem. Guy says, well, I got some problems at home. Said, oh, that's why you're not getting out there. I've been talking about hitting it when the real problem is something's wrong at home. Let's talk about that. See, just a couple of questions, and you just save yourself an hour. You save yourself talking too long about the wrong things just by asking the questions, okay? And game plans, laying out 6 months, laying out a year. When you do business internationally, several corporations, we just formed our first Australian corporation. You just got to have game plans to lay all this stuff out. Otherwise, it just doesn't get done. Things get missed. Taxes don't get paid. The details don't get taken care of. You've got to learn to think on paper. And if there's one thing under time management we can get across that's major, that one is it.